So why I say that three things are common? Because when we were talking about brands, I think the best way is that the founder of the brand's approach is very much like the approach of a political leader. You know, there are people with strong ideas of improvement, they become politicians because they know how society should go. Now, brands can take part of this know-how. Brands can take part of this attitude. Brands are substituting also certain religious aspects of our life. So even a religious institution nowadays, on one hand, if a religious institution should preserve its institute of religion, should adopt ways similar to branding. I mean, it's not a blasphemy. Nowadays, religious institutions, if they want to be more updated, to be more communicative and to have more followers and people, they need to adapt their means of communication, their means of influence to the new. And some of you probably saw that I was invited to speak about Pope Francis' communicative skills when he was visiting Bulgaria. I was there. My point entirely was this: the Catholic Church, actually being anyway a conservative institution, is developing means of communication which are quite updated, which are quite sophisticated. So there are elements of branding, although the Pope would never say, "I'm branding myself." But his team, actually, Vatican, they employed a professional from some broadcast media to run all the public relations. So a professional taken from business is in charge. Now I think it's American guy, I read this, don't remember his nationality, but someone from the core of the business has been employed by the religious institution in order to make, to put order and to put more impact into the communicative activity. So also nowadays it's not so crazy thing to say, okay, also Catholic Church and other religious institutions are branding themselves or are adopting the benefits, the tools of branding. So brands take the necessity of sacred beliefs. Brands take the potential of each one of us to be involved with his or her sacred beliefs. So we, on one side, we know that there are people whose attachment to their favorite brands is very similar and almost identical to religious belief. There are, okay, space in between. We have followers of, let's say, Star Trek, was quoting yesterday Dario, or Star Wars, people who are so much involved with these sagas that they dedicate important life and effort, important aspect, important time of their life, important also financial investment to gather with other fans of this saga to reproduce some episodes, to live entirely within this saga. So they are very much like religiously involved with this saga. They know everything about the characters. They are fantasizing what has not yet happened. I think also with Game of Thrones, similar fandom is created. So sport and cinema fandom is exploring nowadays the same aspects, the same necessities, which also the, let's say, business, typical business making is exploring. So they are saying now the football clubs are branding themselves. Usually football clubs were used to be related with local identity, with local pride, with values which represent one community, and this community was supposed to, challenge, to compete with the representative other communities. So for many years, sport fandom was local and was based on strong sacred beliefs and commitments of pride, nationalism, and so on and so forth. Nowadays, what is going on with this business? Actually, they say big football clubs, they are branding. What means to brand them? To make them global, to chase for followers, for people ready to buy a jersey, ready to pay a subscription and so on, in all over the world. So we cannot claim anymore that I don't know, Real Madrid is a Spanish team, since for some moments probably there is not a single Spanish player on the pitch. Or maybe Real Madrid is not the best example, but some, I don't know, Paris Saint-Germain, or there are teams which are completely international, but they are branded. They are already something completely different than the original idea of what was the football fandom from its beginning. So the branding principle is changing the structure, getting strong advantage of the anyway incredibly strong emotions which sport and especially football provokes. So the brand managers of these big clubs, they develop programs, they develop communication tricks in order to explore, to capitalize this passion. Nowadays you can buy, you can purchase almost on every price something from your club. They offer all the time experiences, even short videos, even, okay, do you want to see what is going on in the changing room before the match? Oh yes, I want. Okay, subscribe for €2 per month and you will have the access to see live video before the match. You can have live video, I don't know, what, for some trainings of the team, things which are usually not interesting, but if you are really a big fan. So branding is transforming also this apparently different from the business sphere, which was the sport fandom based on strong identities, into a branded way of capitalizing money. Then, it's quite a banal thing, but also public institutions nowadays employ young public relations managers in order to make an old and, quite difficult, quite huge institutions like healthcare or social security. These institutions also employ people to transform their image into public opinion in something more favorable and in something more friendly compared to what they really are, because usually they are giant bureaucratic constructions, but with good communication tools you can transform them also in something acceptable and something which. So branding is everywhere, and that's why business branding has changed, because it absorbs trends which come from other brands. So the sport fandom and making this kind of memorable brands, it's not very different. It's not very different. Now, what about food and wine? I think food and wine are the easiest way to create a brand. So to conclude this part, we have here students from schools who decided, made this as a choice to study how. Believe me, think of how you can brand your skills. You can do something, do it. Try to brand it. The brand is a way to transform your hobby into your life, let's say, providing resources for your life business. It's absolutely an easy thing. It's enough that you invent something original, because inventing nowadays something original is not an easy thing. But if you do something with passion, they say, if you are really true believer of what you are doing, you can transmit your passion through the instruments of brand management. This is what I'm claiming. Brand management now is how to transmit your claims, your sacred beliefs, things which make you feel a better person, and things which you are proud with, because the reception of the others, these skills of yours, this hobby of yours, this passion of yours is getting a good feedback. Okay, next step is how to brand it, how to make it into a business, how to develop a business plan. We have very good examples in one of my favorite brands in Sofia, Take a Cake. This was just a family, very skillfully preparing cupcakes. Now it's an important small-scale business, but very successful, with strong personality, with very active, I would say, through their website, they're inventing new recipes, new shapes, new forms. They believe from the very beginning of their business into the necessity of the brand. So the brand is Take a Cake. really good thing. We have at least 2 chains of burgers in Sofia, and I saw actually some in Limesus also. A good, unique restaurant. It's not a chain. It is just there because some people invented their own way to prepare burgers, and this way was good. They put something of themselves, and in Sofia we have this Scaptu burger, I think, this Scaptu bar or stuff. We had our colleague, probably some of you were in the seminar with Angie Whiskers. They were making their digital branding for some time. So burger, I think they have 2 shops, 2 restaurants, and actually they were playing with very important topics. Actually, they were from the very few Bulgarian brands who dared to support, for instance, the Sofia Pride. And they did it, and they got a lot of hate, but also I think certain target of the audience was actually touched by this, and at the end of the day this was a successful thing, but this was only one aspect. They invent new models, they interact with actually some of the customers can propose and can design a burger. You know, social media allow brand to be more human-like, and once you have these options, then if you're smart, if you're witty, and especially if you believe in what you're doing, it's not very difficult to create a very positive impact of what you are doing. But this is necessary. If you leave there people who work in these restaurants just for their working hours and they are totally committed to the business, this is a failure. Actually, one of the keys of success of this kind of brand, this is the internal marketing. Though these businesses are big businesses. When you have a charismatic leader, a founder, a visionary, probably the most important aspect of arranging your business is to be able to contagious, to transmit in an irreversible way your passion also to the people who are working with you. That's why sacred beliefs are necessary. Salary is not enough. Salary is a good thing. There is one, let's say, great moment when you raise the salary and everybody look at your eyes and they like it. Then in 2 months they get used with the new price and they are the same clerks and absolutely involved. If the people who work for you are somehow contagious with this passion, with this, let's say, sacred beliefs which the brand is founded, it is a completely different story. Then you have a real organism. It's a team. It's you know, people who believe in what they are doing usually they do it better. Probably once McDonald's was famous with the fact that they are like robots. Who is working for McDonald's is obliged to smile. So you don't trust this smile. What we are talking here about is exactly the opposite. What, for instance, in Starbucks were initially supposed to do, they were doing very successfully to create a personal relation with the client, to write his nickname, his given name on the glass, and to somehow break this ice which is the McDonald's. That's why Starbucks somehow emerged as the anti-McDonald's, anti-McCoffee, or McCoffee probably came after it, but they are in competition now and they are in a way opposing forces. Okay, so for the academic part, let's see if legendary brands and economic value. So I try to put all these reflections into a more systematic, more referencing to existing literature way. So I used some manuals and some, let's say, classical or necessary references to marketing. To what is Philip Kotler in marketing? This is Kevin Lake Keller in brand management. So from the brand management theory of Kevin Lake Keller, I analyzed the way he describes this irrational, this emotional element behind brands, and I was completely unsatisfied how people from marketing and from brand management consider the role of the individual behind a brand. Actually, it was ignored. So I'm analyzing that this aspect is not taken enough seriously. Then also I'm trying to integrate to the analysis in a fundamental distinction which the signification Jean-Marie Floch is doing between instrumental values and existential values. And obviously with such supplement, somehow the marketing tourism models, they can be improved. And then I put together into a model developed by Lawrence Vincent, where he makes the full cycle of brand mythology system. So with the pragmatic aspect, because Kevin Lane Keller and people from brand management, they have a incomparably better way to describe the frame of doing business. But when it comes to define the brand and these things which makes the difference from one brand to the other, there they fail. So we get the pragmatic, the theoretic frame from the classical brand management. Then with Jean-Marie Floch, we introduced an important distinction which start to make more sense within brand management. And then with the model of Lawrence Vincent, we put everything together in an enriched, augmented version of his model of the brand mythology. So who wants to know more details about this, let's say, theoretic try? They are in the article. So I would stop here and would be curious to hear feedback, because all this is in the chapter also. The chapter is based on the major brands who changed the habits of culture. Everywhere in some countries it is already the mainstream distribution of food, but everything started with domino, with some, how to say, insights of the founders of this company. So they changed in a way the practice of eating. Again, we are not evaluating how, but definitely to speak about who changed the way and the tastes, the appreciation of certain approaches. These are these companies. Starbucks, their example how they introduced the Italian coffee culture in completely twisted and distorted way in the United States, but they used the mythology of the Italian coffee culture. We have also a sub-chapter on slow food movement, which was the resistance, but it is grounded, and this obviously is not my idea, but actually already Gianfranco developed it, and I'm just quoting him for at the end of the chapter, because slow food is an anti-brand, but their efficiency and incredible success to involve many people actually is resulted from a very good brand elements, very good logo, very good slogan, very good brand mythology system, which works great. So there are more similarities rather than differences with McDonald's, and Gianfranco's analysis puts the two logos into comparison, but also the two philosophies. So actually the things are quite interesting from this point of view, but they are confirmation that the brand matters, the brand as an approach, not the brand as a business activity.
Okay, very briefly, the first one is that in the game you made at the beginning, we couldn't recognize most of the faces, and I think you chose this on purpose, because then on the other hand you could have chosen very recognizable brand-related faces like Steve Jobs himself. So we wanted to ask you a little bit to elaborate on the difference between people who promote the brand by putting the face very much on the front line and people who don't. And the second one is actually a prediction. I'm asking you as an expert in branding. Ilari, I think yesterday, was mentioning these different diets and the fact that they all focus on a different value. So also in branding, I think there is the identification of a value, which is normally a need from the part of the target, or a suggestion that they may need something, and like these delivery services, they are branding the fact that you stay home and you order that. So the prediction I'm asking you, do you think what could be possible future values that will be imposed as needs for the audience, and that might be a key for a new successful branding?
What new media are creating as a general attitude and ethos nowadays in individual brand, this is self-expression. So I think self-expression in whatever form, sharing what you're doing, representing your life in the best possible way in order the others to see how happy you are, etc. This is how consumption today works. So there is probably reducing critical, let's say, evaluation of what you really get, and extreme care on how whatever you get as a consumer might be represented and might be displayed for the others. So what values, I think this general value of the self-expression will dominate. Whatever your identity needs in order to be, according to your identity management, the most desirable, you will get it from consumption and not from writing books, writing poetry, or let's say performing something privately with people. Everything should be for display. I think this will be the leading. Many others, but this among them. Concerning the difference between brands with a founding figure who is the face of the brand, and those where we don't know the figure but still the brand is legendary. In the brand mythology system, actually we have a position and we have a function like Propian, and not necessity of being the founder. So this is the brand agent. So we don't know very well the Coca-Cola founder, but the bottle of Coca-Cola is the brand. It is the first association you have. It is the incorporation of the mythology, the whole meaning which this brand, its reputation has been created for so many times. You know, the bottle is the first thing you think. The bottle itself is not the source. It is the MacGuffin, the wearer of this, and we don't know. Still the brand. Harley Davidson, another case. You have a very strong brand agent. This is the motorcycle. This is the sound the motorcycle is doing. This is the classics. This is what the people is buying it for. How it looks, the design, the strong muscles, type of tank, and all this. But we don't know about the founder. Still, it's a legend because the function is performed by the product itself and not by the brand agent. But there are many others where it is the founder who is active, like Elon Musk. He's another, let's say, visionary who is branding his, let's say, crazy, his madness is branded, like Tesla and SpaceX and so on. I think this model allows to have a brand agent, also many other things. Even a website might be brand agent for
element that separates more when it comes to making a new brand. I mean, what would you advise the students to start from when they set up their own brand? What is the most important beginning step they should take?
the thing you want to do, the thing doing it, you know that the others appreciate it. You create a value, so you don't have to start from okay, I want to buy a car, so to buy a car I will need 7,000 euros. So let's start sell sandwiches in order to gain 7,000 euros. This is the wrong way. You might do 7,000 euros doing sandwiches, but you will hate your job and you will think all the time about the car. It should be the purpose, the business itself. The business itself should be the existential value rather than an instrumental value. It should be a motive, strong conviction. When you do something, we academic people are actually quite happy with our profession because okay, none of us is a millionaire, at least those who I know. There are others, but most of us, we choose a field of work. So we have an institution which prevents us from branding us. Some academics already are branding themselves, and actually they're selling themselves, although not becoming millionaires and the top richest men in the world. They do a lot of success because we have the ingredients of doing it. I give it as an example that you choose a discipline, you choose it because you want to do this. It is your vocation, and then gradually it transforms into profession. In starting a business, you need similar commitment to activity which brings. That's why startup thinking is now so strong, because you can have a crazy idea which nobody else had, and then start to. But the driving force should be something which is not "I need money." Should be something different, very difficult to describe, but should not be instrumental according to the analysis and to the models I'm offering. If I knew, I would not be here.
But the difference between instrumental values and existential values, because it's quite difficult.
If you read a novel, usually novels are about death or marriage or someone becoming something else. You know, this is the story. You are no one and then you become a hero. So the major plot, the major points of development of a character, those are the existential values, things which happen in the story which transform you. You're a kid, then there is an amazing episode, then you become a man. Or, you know, a couple, a love story, then they marry, they get into a... Those are the existential values. If we make a structural analysis of how the narrative develops, usually what drives the narratives are the transformation of the identity, of the I, of the essere, and not of... And then the story is full with small episodes which help those ones, in order to make it more credible, in order to help you to suspend your disbelief. There are descriptions of the sea, there are psychological, let's say, things made for more credibility. And those descriptions, those secondary episodes, or for instance, in a movie, you need some funny gags in order to have an overall aspect. Then you have an episode where, I don't know, the best man is going to take the rings for the marriage, and there is some funny... This is instrumental narrative purpose, so it's secondary. It's about having and not about being, if we put it in English terms. So whatever is happening, but of course this is a formalized level. If we analyze life, most of our doings are about the existential values, but we need the instrumental values in order to achieve the... Jean-Marie Force gives the example with the banana and with the stick. So the stick is instrumental to get the banana. The major narrative program of the monkey is to get the banana. But then the monkey has one short stick in the cage and one long stick outside the cage. So the narrative purpose of the monkey is to be smart enough to get the short stick, to pull the longer stick, to get it inside the cage, and then to take the banana. So those are the instrumental programs to achieve the long stick. And then the major thing, because okay, the world of monkeys, taking a banana is existential in a way. So this is the instrument. The way Ray Kroc is instrumental to the transformation. It is not a film about him, it is McDonald's, how through him, how through this machine rational businessman becomes global phenomenon. If we put McDonald's in the focus of the story, then it works. There is some transformation of character. He's the same from the very beginning to the end. He never changes his...
This is why it's a great brand strategy.